Now time for a quick check on the all-important weather. Sean.
There's both good and bad news. The good news is we're now confident of the likely weather in the Channel on the 5th of June. The bad news is the Azores high has given way to an area below pressure over the UK, meaning we'll see strong winds through the Channel, force 4 to 6, and there'll be too much cloud for successful bombing operations. The feeling here is to postpone the invasion, as the weather is likely to improve after the 5th of June.
Sean Lloyd with the latest on the weather. So let's cross straight to our defence correspondent, Alistair Stewart, outside Supreme Headquarters. Alistair, it's not looking good, is it?
John, it's not looking good at all. Meetings continue here at Southwark House, Invasion Headquarters. And the RAF's Chief Met Officer brought some very troubling news indeed to that last meeting. He said that the weather prospects for the 5th of June, the ideal invasion date, were, quotes, full of menace. He said that the best that he could offer would be thick, low cloud at about 500 feet, and that's no good whatsoever for close air cover. But worse still, he predicted strong winds whistling right across the Channel.
Could there be a postponement then, Alistair?
John, not only could there be, I think it's almost certain.
And that's the news. We'll be back tomorrow with the latest on the invasion, which now looks certain to be delayed. Good night.
A booklet to accompany D-Day dispatches is available at a cost of £2. To order your copy, please call 08708 303 449.
The perfect holiday retreat.
The barbecue, the table out here.
An idyllic retirement home.
We want somewhere that's close to the coast.
Or maybe you just love to look and dream.
Look at that. It's lovely.
Whatever your reason, we've got it all, both in Europe and further afield. I Want That House, weekdays at 5 on UTV.
Numbarry, sponsors of You Care.
The Children's Law Centre have a free phone advice line for all children and young people. It's called Chalky. Children have rights just like adults. Children have legal issues and there can be legal solutions. Chalky is there to help with issues just like education.
I was suspended and expelled from school. I didn't know I can challenge this decision until I phoned Chalky. I'm now back at school and doing well.
I was having some difficulty at school and needed some extra help. Chalky helped me to get my own classroom assistant. Employment.
After a year, my employer told me not to come back to work. He didn't give me any reason for this and I'd done nothing wrong. I phoned Chalky and found out that this could be unfair dismissal.
Youth justice.
I wanted to know my rights if I was stopped and questioned by the police. I phoned Chalky and got advice, and they sent me out one of their leaflets.
Family.
I was living with a foster family and wanted to contact my brothers. I phoned Chalky and they gave me advice about my rights and told me how to reach a children's solicitor.
Social security.
I was homeless, and Chalky helped me to look at my housing options and to claim benefits.
The Children's Law Centre, helping to make your rights a reality. Phone Chalky free on 0808 808 5678.
Numbarry, sponsors of You Care.
Even for just the 8 months that we had him, was just the best 8 months you could possibly have. And it's unbelievable. was a third, a late baby too, because the first two, Sebastian was never planned, so he was a big surprise, to say the least. But the initial reaction was, when Sharon told me she was pregnant, I sort of went, oh no, what's went wrong here? But then as the pregnancy wore on, what have you, got used to the idea. In fact, I actually got excited at the idea of it. Just come up towards Christmas, about 3 weeks before Christmas. And he, well, he took what we thought was a cold at first, which was runny nose, runny eyes, cough and sneezing, just normal, you thought, cold. So, of course, we sort of let it go for a while, gave him Calpol. It didn't seem to get any better. Christmas Day, we had all his toys out, he played with them. The usual gardening that he normally does in the morning. He was back to his normal, all the routines were back again. He was back to getting up at 4 in the morning, then 8, which was his normal routine, so you were going, he must be okay.
On the 27th of December, I'd brought Joshua into bed, and he'd been a wee bit grouchy that morning, so we brought him in for a cuddle, and he went back to sleep again. So we were all snuggled up together, and Billy had rolled over and felt Joshua's head, and it was cold. When we got to the hospital, there was an army of doctors and nurses all waiting for us, and they just took him straight away. It seemed like ages, but probably wasn't a long time. But they just kept working at him, and then the doctor came to me and said, we can carry on, but he says there's no point. He says, he's gone.
The paediatrician did say the police would be down, and I was sort of going to myself, why? And he said, oh, this is a standard procedure, this is the way it works. And as I said, he had already said, no, like, there's nothing, no mark on the child, he was well loved, and he looked like he was a really healthy child, even just going by his size. The police arrived anyway at this point, 2 detectives. They came in and introduced themselves again. I don't remember their names or anything. And they said, basically, we'll go through these questions with you. We can either do it now, or we can do it later on, but it has to be done today. And I just sort of went, why today? No, why can't I throw wait? Look, I just sort of went, well, I'll just get it over with. It's bad enough as it is. I do remember they said to me, when I came back in the room, we need to go to your house and pick up bed linen, clothes off Joshua's bed and your bed. I sort of what? That's for forensic tests.
After the post-mortem was done, the first thing the police had said was Joshua died of natural causes. And once they said that, it was like everything had changed. The way they spoke to us, their mannerisms, they seemed just to completely relax somehow. There wasn't like this intense questioning and that we'd had up to that stage. And they just seemed to be much more considerate and sensitive to us after that. The doctors had, just left us to it, basically.
You keep on thinking, he should still be alive. We did something wrong. We missed out. There's some little fact we've missed. And then you just find out that it was this Kawasaki disease, and you go, but the symptoms were there. If we had have known something about that disease, we would have pushed harder. It's like a virus infection that attacks all the arteries surrounding the heart, the main arteries, and destroys them, basically. Any child under 2, it's just a killer. None of the different organisations seem to work together. There's no connection. You go to a coroner, that's separate. You go to the police, that's separate. You go to your own doctor, he tells you, well, I can't do nothing until the coroner does something. And the hospital says, well, they can't do nothing until the coroner does something. And they're all operating against each other to me. And the family was just devastated as a whole. me, Sean, even the two youngsters too. So we just weren't coping at all in any shape or form.
My belief is that people don't uproot themselves just on a whim. There has to be a good reason before somebody's going to up sticks and move to another country with no security and very little money. There's any number of oppressive regimes around the world which make it impossible for people to live in a normal way. The idea that asylum seekers are being given handouts which are then coming out of the public purse, so I think it can be used as an excuse for the health service not being good enough and all those sorts of services. I think a lot of it has been perpetuated by the media, which has whipped up fears about people coming here and maybe the host country losing its traditions and identity. But in reality, the money that asylum seekers get is a very small proportion of the budget of the country. People don't have access to accurate information. And also there isn't maybe within education from a young age the ethos of living in a multicultural society, which we are now.
Actually, I am from one of the Asian country, and see, my country have a lot of civil war. The civil war was going on around 20 over years. I know what is happening surrounding me, even my friends and my neighbors. Some people missing and died, and some houses shot, bombed, things happened, but nothing happened to me directly. But this the case has happened to me, and my son was killed. So actually, I was doing some transport, these things. Usually myself and my sons together we deliver things, but that day my son happened to go alone. The police stop check, and that time army, they suspected my son is one of the rebel side. They asking so many questions, my son, but I don't know actually what took place directly. I don't know because I wasn't beside him, and they just shot him. I got a message immediately. I ran. I went and saw my son was lying down, dead. Immediately the army asked me, "Who are you?" Then I said, "I'm the so and so." No questions, straight away they arrested me. I was detained in army camp. I was there for 5 days, and they really tortured me. Through my friends, they bribed army, and they took me out. If not, they would have killed me. So that's the time the rebel thought that I'm giving news for the army. That's why the rebels came to my house and ransacked whole the house, breaking everything. They almost, they almost raped my daughter, but thanks God they managed to escape. And my friend took my whole family to his house, and I was staying different houses for a few days, different houses my friends was giving. Then one of my friend recommended it's not safe here, but he arranged for me to move out from the country. I traveled a container for 4 days with my family, no food, nothing. But before they put in the container, they gave me a drink, this mineral water and buns and fruit. We survived with that. You see, even the urine, anything, all happened to be inside the container. They didn't open anything. I thought I was going to lose one more my son. He was in a very bad condition. They left me here, but what I told me that this is London. I thought this is London. I didn't know this is Belfast, and I was just left me in the road. Initially, I find it very difficult because the culture is a really big shock for us. But gradually, because I found people are very helpful and willing to help everything, they help me in every part. I think now I believe that I came to the right place, and I'm just surviving. I came out of my country because of life threat. If they want to send me back, that means they're going to kill me. You see, if I go back, sure that the rebels, they kill my family. It's very sure.
Happy family.
Love. Security.
Feeling safe.
A good dinner. House.
Place where you can feel safe. Home is a place of comfort, security and family for most people. A place where one can feel safe. For the majority of the settled community, it means being in a house. For the travelling community, the home is movable. Travellers have had a nomadic lifestyle through the centuries. This lifestyle makes up their culture and identity. The 1998 Housing Act regarding traveller accommodation in the Republic of Ireland made it an obligation of local authorities to meet the current and projected needs of the traveller community. In 2002, an amendment to the Housing Act made it a criminal offence to enter land without permission or to bring objects such as caravans or horses onto land.
A civil offence is now a criminal offence, and people can be charged up to €3,000. Their caravans, which is essentially their home, which is supposedly enshrined in the Constitution as sacred, can be taken from them, and people can be jailed and charged. So, I mean, that to date hasn't been implemented in Donegal. I suppose we're lucky in that respect, but I mean, it is having consequences all around the country. If this is the move in terms of how legislation is working, it's going to have a terrible effect in the long term on travellers' rights to be nomadic and to be recognised as an ethnic group.
Under the 1998 Accommodation Act, the Irish government had said that within 5 years they would provide 2,200 units of accommodation. 4.5 years later,
75% of the promised houses have been built, while only 25% of the promised halting sites have been provided.
I had to go on the waiting list with the council to get a house. I really wanted a halting site or a fully serviced site, but I didn't get that. I had no choice. I had to take the house. It's my way of life. Feel more at home in a caravan.
Badly serviced sites continue to be a problem for travellers. This contributes greatly to health problems in the traveller community.
You can see yourself, just tear mark and put us into a hole. After had to give us a clean toilet and etc. Them is unhealthy, them toilets. For a crowded children, or even for myself or anyone. I nearly had pneumonia. I took a bad flu here last winter, and I got affected in my kidneys as well. Because I blamed, you see, when you have to go from this caravan, maybe you're frosty in the winter time. You could be teeming rain or perishing and go to the toilet. You see, that's bringing your washer clothes back. They're telling me and they're giving me a house, and I got no house yet. And you know how when you have no clean place to go to, you would get fed up.
The policy of moving travellers on when the promised alternative accommodation is not available is adding to the health problems of travellers.
The new legislation that come out there, it's got a very big impact on travellers' health, because travellers were always used to moving about, nomadics, and now that they can't pull in, it's caused a lot of stress because they're moved on every so often. They can't stay wherever they like. There should be a choice of where you want to live.
If you're living on the roadside without access to, water and basic services, electricity, washing facilities, and you've been waiting there for 4.5 years, and you've been promised accommodation in terms of a site, if you're then, after 4.5 years, offered a house, at this stage, you're going to prioritise your children's health needs over your own needs to, respect your own culture and, wait for the type of accommodation that you would choose. So people feel in some ways, yeah, look, we're just so demoralised, we're so tired waiting. We'll take it. It's going to have in the long term a devastating effect on nomadism and on traveller identity and culture.
The old ways are changing, you cannot deny. The day of the traveller is over. There's nowhere to go and there's nowhere to bide. So farewell to the life of the rover.
Home, I think, for a lot of traveller families, it's a safe place, safe environment, away from racism and discrimination.
You've got to move fast to keep up with the times, for these days a man cannot wander. There's a bylaw to say you must be on your way, and another to say you can't wander.
Previously on the district.
Giselle and I set the date.